Hello, here we are again with Mookie Tenembaum. We are exploring through these videos his disillusionist philosophy, as most of you know already. And today we are going to focus on a concept that is close to the core of disillusionism, I would say, because it's at the center of its misalgic theory, of its theory about human behavior regarding suffering, regarding the avoidance and the aversion to suffering, which is the misalgic theory. And the concept is the concept of property, of owning. And we will try to analyze how this impacts individual situations and individual behavior through the suffering related to having, to owning. So it's the concept of property from a disillusionist point of view today.
Well, first of all, we have a verb that deals with being. So it's I am. Yes. Interestingly enough, in Spanish, we do this video in both in Spanish and in English. I had to explain because in Spanish there is also a verb that means being at a certain point, being at. So it's being the being and being at. So I am at my house or in my house. Yes, that is said in Spanish than different than I'm a lawyer. Okay. So, but in English it's easier. We only have to differentiate between being and having. Now, interestingly enough, we have in English we have me and we have mine. So the me, the me, you take the being and you stretch it into the property you're talking about. Correct? So when we are asking about the me, and I have something, I have a contention. I will make a statement. I contend that every time you add something to your property, part of the being of the you is transferred into the property. It's diluted with the property. So the property, the more property you have, the less you are, and the more you are being being irradiated into the stuff you have. Yes, it's like yes, and you're losing photons or you're losing electrons or I don't know which muons, whatever subatomic particle that makes you happy. But this is what I am going to try to show in the course of this conversation and how it does it work. Why being and having are interrelated in our lives. Yes, although it's clear that my existence is not dependent upon what I have. Yes, maybe yes, but in the basis, in the core, we can always say I am, and I don't need to say anything else. I am, and that's enough. Okay, so let's first see the different levels of property we're talking about. So the first one is what is objectively mine. Okay, so this computer is objectively mine. What does it mean? It means that if somebody wants to take my computer away, steal it, take it, I would say no, it's mine. Yes? And he is supposed to respect it because it's not a computer that is being lost in the middle of the street. It's my computer. And if he takes it or she takes it, the police or whoever or the judge will take care of them returning that to me. So property, in the case of movable property, is quite easily. In the case of real estate, it's even easier. Why? Because it's registered. So I have a house, and this apartment is written, under my name in the registry, and it's mine. If tomorrow there is somebody trying to live here, he cannot say he found it. I cannot say it's mine. It's written. You see, it's mine. So the registration it's very interesting because you registered with an illusion, the state. The state does not exist. The state happens in our head. This is Disillusionism 101. Yes. If tomorrow I lose my memory, there will be no state. I will know what the state is, even if I see a flag, even if I see a passport, I will know. The same thing will happen with God, the same thing will happen with family. Those are illusions. So now the illusion is in charge of guaranteeing the mine part of the me. Yes. Okay. So this is the registration. Now, then you have the property that it is because it matters to me. So even if it's not mine, physically mine, the tree in the street, I could say it's mine because I am interested that I will have shade every time I walk. I'm interested in that tree because maybe I put water in it. Maybe when I pay taxes, I'm thinking about that tree. That is mine, but not really objectively mine. In fact, it is not mine objectively, and it is mine because it matters to me. And then you have the mind that goes the other way around. They tell me it's mine, but I don't want it. So it's your planet, my planet. Yes, it's your planet. This is your dog that is doing whatever it's doing in the street, and you should be taking care of it. Yes, this is your child who has been misbehaving, and I called you, or you have to support it, or you have to pay alimony for it. So that property is the other way around. Is being thrown at me. It's being attributed to me. It's an attribution, really. It's an attribution from outside. And then you have what I feel is my own.
Yeah.
Okay, and it has and there is a feeling about it. So it could be my son. Again, my son, but the other way around. Yes, it could be it could be my friend. You are mine. Well, I said my friend. I could have said he's a friend. No, I say my friend. You know, the mafia has this wording with my friend, the friend of ours, our friend. I'm not talking about that kind of mind. Okay.
No, but you have friends, not in the same sense in which you have real estate or in which you have gadgets, but you have friends. Yes, it's an owning relationship there.
Yes, and then of course when you have a friend, it's not registered anywhere. And if you go to the police, hey, he took my friend. Well, he's free to go. There was a slave. A slave used to be yours, and it was registered to you like any other chattel. It was yours. Yes, but slavery unfortunately is gone. It would have been great to have slaves now. No, don't you think? No.
We will get censored.
No. People understand. I am joking. Am I? Yes, I'm joking.
You mentioned at the beginning the differences between doing this we do in Spanish and in English, and there are always differences, of course, with language barriers and stuff. But there's an interesting difference in this case that in the English philosophical tradition, you have this big discussion that maybe doesn't mean a lot outside of the English tradition, but it has a lot to do with what you were saying, because in the early stages of philosophical development in England, Thomas Hobbes and the likes of him claimed that the inalienable right had to do with being, had to do with life. And that was your only sole inalienable right. And then
life and limb.
Life and limb. Yes.
Even your hand. There was a property, your hand. Yes.
Exactly. And then the next generation came, and British and English and Anglo-Saxon philosophy took off full steam, which is John Locke and the guys. And they started saying something similar to what you were saying, which is, wait, owning, having is also an inalienable right, because I put part of my life in the things I have. So you can't take them away from me without taking away from me part of what I am. And we know people have died defending their property. There are instances in which being and having were so intertwined that people wouldn't let go, couldn't let go, because there was a confusion between being and having. What you said next made me think, and I guess this is core for us from a disillusionist point of view, there are complex connections between having and suffering. Because this first example you mentioned, objectively, I have many things which everyone would agree are mine, but I don't care. I don't mind about them. And if they are lost, or if they are broken, or whatever happens to them, won't change the way I feel. And then there is this other stuff that technically is not mine, friends, for instance, which if they go away, I will suffer a lot. So there's an unbalance there. I guess the first example from a misalgic point of view is irrelevant. If I don't suffer, if I don't mind, if I don't care, the fact that it's mine, who cares, right?
Well, in disillusionism, we have two central blocks. One is illusions, and the other one is running away from suffering. Now, it's very interesting because the suffering test is an important test. The more I suffer, the loss of something or its unavailability, doesn't have to be loss. Yes, the more I suffer, the more important it is. The more is mine. Why? Because when I run away from suffering, by running away from suffering, anything that makes me suffer more costs me more. So what John Locke says, really, disillusionism was not around at the time, but what he really says is that since you suffer to get it, you are entitled to it. I have my questions about it. I don't think there is a relationship, a real relationship, between suffering and having. I think suffering is suffering, having is having. There is a coincidence. Of course, money represents suffering that is frozen in time. Yes, I have suffered. I converted it to money, and then I use the money, that suffering, and I buy something to assuage another suffering. Yes, that using a suffering to alleviate another one. That will be the issue. But what you are saying, the main claim is that if I suffer something, it's minor than if I don't. Mine becomes related, it intertwined with suffering. In my mind, it doesn't matter in the mind of somebody else's. Okay, again, nobody knows what it feels to be Mookie, so nobody knows how much I feel if I lose my glasses. These glasses, specific these glasses, not these glasses with the number of necessary to read. Yes, this object, which of course it is 99% for reading. Of course, if these were my grandfather's and they were his glasses and he gave it to me, now these glasses are not for reading. These glasses are for owning. And again, do I look at my grandfather's glasses all day? Do I give attention to that all day? So what you're saying is caring, is the real word. Caring, the value of caring is not necessarily related to what others think I should care. There is no objective value in caring. It is a very specific suffering. Caring brings back or brings up a very specific kind of suffering. Do you agree?
Yeah. And then there is this third special connection that you mentioned, in which I don't care for the possession, I don't mind, but still I will suffer because it's attributed to me and I'm responsible for whatever it has cost. So it's exposed to suffering, at least on two sides. Every possession I have, I can suffer because I care about it, because it can get, as you said, I don't need to lose it. The fact that my grandfather's glasses are rusting or are deteriorating, it's already a source of suffering for me. And then there is that which I didn't want to have, that I don't think it's mine, but still hurt someone, and now I'm responsible for the consequences. So on both sides, I guess, having is very much related to suffering.
Of course, and that doesn't have to be legal responsibility. It could be social. They could tell me, listen, your dog cannot go around and barking at people in the street, even though let's say it's legal, yes, or even shame. You know, shame. You're being shamed because what you have, your ideas and your ideals could be a reason for responsibility or suffering. If today your ideals involved harming somebody else's or supporting the harming of somebody else's, you are going to be
or slavery.
Or
our ideas.
Or slavery, yes. Slavery, that's another reason not to have a slave, not only legal. The issue of the other people attributing you, it goes beyond it. It goes into a planet. The planet is mine, and I am responsible for my planet. And I would say, that's not my planet. I have this is absurd. This was never my planet. This is my planet. Your planet. You do whatever you want. Yes, but you are supposed to take care of my planet, or it's your planet. Now, what about my galaxy? I don't think we should stay with my. See, the problem with saying my universe is that there is only one.
No.
So I cannot say my universe because there is only one. Compared to what? To the one I don't have, to the one of not having it, but not with another one. And then you have, the other problem is the diminishing returns you get by having. So first of all, let me remind everybody, every time I have something, that something takes a little bit of myself. Why? Because now, since I am that person, that thing that runs away from suffering, and that is now a chance to suffer from, my house, suddenly the pipes are broken and everything is inundated. Forget about that, the rest will tell me this is your house. I will suffer because I have more property. If it was mine, I wouldn't care. Falling water, very nice. Yes. So every time you get something into your property, you become more prone, more vulnerable to more suffering. And that is the reason I say that you lose some of your I-ness, not the me-ness, the I-ness into that thing in which you deposit yourself, a little bit of yourself, to get something around it. Forget about the money that you have to pay, of course, and then you lose something and get something and so forth.
No, but it's interesting that the more you have, not only the more exposed you are to suffering in these both senses that you mentioned, but also the more you have, the less significant each acquisition becomes. There is really diminishing returns in terms of feeling, in terms of sensation. You don't need to go to the financial, economic aspect of this matter.
It's like a surprise, yes? You get the first time something is a surprise, the second time it's not a surprise, and then it becomes part of your habit. Yes? You remember the rules of disillusionism. The first one is an exception, the second one is a coincidence, the third one is a tradition. When I'm saying that, I'm talking about the delusion that happens because of having the same thing many times. Yes? Your books will not be a good example because your books are different books dealing with different issues. But let's say,
still.
Yes, of course, there is still a book. I agree, there is, but if it's a Bible, yes, and you have 10 Bibles, anyway, none of them are worth anything. But and remember, there is an objective value. If you have a Bible that was printed 400 years ago, then it also have an objective value beyond it.
No, but I'm thinking simple stuff like first piece of furniture I got when I moved alone. That was big. Now it's just the task of replacing furniture that is broken. It's just okay, now I need a new chair. Why? Because the other one is ruined. There's nothing to the acquisition of a new piece of furniture. And even if you know people that are still very enthusiastic about those kind of situations, it's never like it was in the beginning. It's a slope, right?
It's a slope. And then, again, there's things that are related to property. So, for example, insurance. So I make an insurance on my house. Now, interesting. If my house burned down, I will have a similar house, the money to buy a similar house, not the same one. So here we talk about an objective value, and insurance does that. Life insurance does not replace the person who dies, but replaces his economic value. So it's only economic value insurance, but now you have a cost. You see, if you don't insure your house against a fire, what can happen? Well, you will be in a latent fear, or once in a while, what if it burns down? So now you pay to stop suffering from fear, but now you have paid for that. So now you took out more property to insure another property. To that, I really want also at the end to talk about the things we own. We're talking about my relationship with the things I own, not the things themselves. So you have objects, yes, my glasses. You have people, my friend, my brother, my sister, my slave. Ah, no, I forgot my slave, I cannot use. Resources, money, yes. Dreams, I have a dream. I have a dream. Well, he doesn't have a dream. He's dreaming. That's a use. But then you can have, but of course, ideal. Obviously,
and you can have a plan, and you can have memories, and you can have hopes, and illusions, of course,
and families, and of course, I have the history behind me of lots of Tenenbaums that came before me, or some other last name, whatever. Yes, so that is also mine. Yes, there is a lot of mine. And then there is the curious thing of intellectual property.
True.
And now I have a relationship or registration, something that really does not exist. You see, real estate, the words are here. Stop doing that. The words are here. But what about a patent, an idea, really? What about a text? Intellectual property. What about even a slogan or Coca-Cola?
Yeah, a brand.
A name, a brand. Very interesting. So now we have property, but that is a property that was born so we can have the civilization we have. Because in the communist country, where all these three intellectual property did not exist, nothing was invented. Nothing. So to make the think work, to allow us to sleepwalk while thinking, while inventing, this was invented. So here you have minds that are totally nothing, and still from the outside and from the inside is yours. I think we went through one more thing. We are not talking about losing. Yes, we have not talked about the effect of losing. That we'll do in the next video. Will be about losing. We will reprise a little bit of this, and we will explain
the specific suffering of losing what you own.
The specific suffering of losing what you own or what you don't own. I mean, we'll see which of the ownerships we're talking about.
Perfect. See you next time. Amazing.
See you next time.
If you enjoyed the video, please like it, comment and subscribe.